It is going to be a fun night of talking movies as we talk about Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man, and we spun the wheel at realgood.com/roulette. We're going to talk about that all tonight. Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Real to Real Talk Live. I want to say, guys, this is our first full episode live. Joining me, as always, is Susan Chisholm and Paul Britton, the other Real to Real Talkers. Welcome, team. You're ready to roll.
Hi.
Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you all again, finally. Sorry.
It has been a bit.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. Nursing school life and
Traveling for food stuff.
well, and me getting over the creeping epizootie, whatever this junk is.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this. We did a couple of live quick reviews and stuff just to test the medium, Paul and I, and this is going to be the world we live in now. Real to Real Talk Live, inspired by, if I may share, inspired by some good friends of mine who do their shows live. I want to do a bit of a shout out to Countdown City Geekcast and Con Culture Podcast, who I watch their shows week to week live, and I'm like, we can do that because we're awesome.
No problem.
Absolutely. This week's episode.
Let's give it a shot.
Exactly. This week's episode, we are once again spinning the roulette wheel at realgood.com. Our friends at realgood.com have a fantastic feature in which you can do Netflix Roulette by going to realgood.com/roulette, and they will help you choose a film to watch. And the nice thing is you can do it across multiple platforms, but we spin the wheel for Netflix Roulette. And guys, I got to tell you, once again, interesting choices. Paul?
Yeah. All right, look, let's be full disclosure. Sergio picked the category this week.
Yes.
And was like 2 days literally like, can we just change categories?
Full disclosure, I was like, what's the closest thing that'll give me talkie movies? So.
Is that what you were going for?
A little bit.
So, and I really was trying to push for it and then get this topic banned forever, but Sergio said, no, we're not going to do that. And so here we are.
You know, I say let's stick with it.
All right.
One of the most fun things about this whole Netflix roulette that we've done for quite a while now is the unexpected things that happen when the wheel is spun.
Yeah. So with Netflix.com, realgood.com, you have the ability to select the platforms that you choose. And I specifically chose Netflix. But when it came to my turn, for some reason, I was given a movie that wasn't on Netflix. So I had to spin again. So
yeah, I've had that happen to me a couple times.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That was unexpected, just for reference.
You mean I could have used that as my excuse for some of the movies I've gotten?
Nope.
Sir.
Nope.
No, you may not. You have to play it fair and follow the hold true to the spirit of the thing that is the thing, the roulette. Yeah.
Yeah. For those joining us for the first time, welcome. Shame on you. We spin the wheel, like we said, and Netflix, realgood.com/roulette gives us a movie each. And tonight we're going to share what we got. We each take a turn sharing the selection that we were given and talking a little bit about it. And then we encourage you to go check it out yourself because it's kind of fun. So I believe we said I would start, if I remember correctly.
Correcto.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the topic was history, as Paul said. And the results were quite... I got my choice, but then I always curiously spin just to see what else is there. And I was like, this is a really sort of Bear topic.
Mhm.
BARE, like not a lot of selections. But the movie that I got was Fire in the Blood. It is a documentary that was extremely, extremely powerful. It took a look at the spread of the AIDS virus in particularly African countries on the continent of Africa, because the documentary was about the way in which the medicines that had been developed, the antiretrovirals that had been developed that had begun to help the West in terms of fighting the HIV virus, were kept from the countries of the third world, particularly in Africa. And it was a very, very sort of heartbreaking and heart-wrenching study of how groups like the World Health Organization and pharmaceutical companies and so forth didn't want to develop, though it was proven that it could be developed at less than $100 a year per person. They still prohibited companies from doing a generic version of these drugs that could have helped millions of people. And so the documentary itself told the story of those who, came from places like South Africa and India, where the generic medicine was being developed that was being forbidden to be, marketed and shipped to third world countries, and how they got the ability to finally develop these drugs for those who were suffering. But of course, in the time that took, just untold millions of lives were lost. And again, when you think that a documentary is going to give you that feel-good ending of like, and then everything was fine, the end result that though the antiretroviral drugs were able to be made available for those who needed it all around the world, especially those even in the U.S. who are living at poverty level and so forth, what these pharmaceutical companies ended up doing was creating law and policy that would prevent this from happening for any future diseases and viruses and so forth. So powerful, powerful documentary, an embarrassing portion of history, I'd say, because the U.S. pharmaceutical companies benefited just as much as the world. It was really something, especially in the time that we live, to see that this probably still goes on today.
Absolutely still goes on today. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like you said, they passed laws to make sure it would still go on today.
Yeah.
Yep. Working as a pharmacy technician, like there are so many things that I see every day, like the number of medications that exist, the number of programs, the number of people that I've seen in the medication comes across, and we've never filled for this person before. So of course we don't have a prescription insurance or any kind of commercial insurance on their file. So it's, oh yeah, okay, we filled the prescription 30 tablets and it's $5,642. And we're like, oh, yep, okay, yep. That happens. And it's just like, well, do I put a label on this bottle and hope that they get there with insurance? Or what do we do? So
there is not enough time in this podcast to cover the horrible things that I would want to say about
Nope.
everything. So I'm just gonna say not a fan, and we'll just leave it at that.
And this documentary was it's about 10 years old, maybe a little older than that. And again, not heard of it. It took the wheel for me to find it, and yet I learned a ton. How often on the show have we said this drove me to go read? And I did, and it's a dang mess. And so, if you want to check it out, it's on Netflix, obviously, but have a cartoon or something animated followed up and ready for after.
In the queue. All right.
Yeah.
Noted.
Indeed. All right, Susan, we'll go to you next to let us know, what did the wheel give you? Oh, no.
Well,
did it put fire in your blood?
Remember in the very beginning of the year when I was like, I want to expand my horizons, and normally the shows that I'm not the movies that I'm not a big fan of, the violent and the bloody and gory and all that fun stuff. And well, I didn't get any kind of like actually realistic history style movies. I got a work of fiction from about 20 years ago. Well, okay, and yeah, I got to watch The Patriot.
Oh wow!
Look,
Lucky you.
that's fantastic. Not that it's good, but just that.
It uses the term history loosely,
Sure.
ish. It was a good story. When I sat, there were certain things. I mean, obviously, like one of the first, like key changes in the movie, obviously, is the death of his son, like right before his eyes, and it was like, okay, the whole like violence towards children thing is like a big trigger for me, and I was like, let's just dive right off the deep end with making, pushing my boundaries and expanding my horizons. Why don't we? But I mean, all in all, kind of, taking the time to sit down and push, like sit down. Okay, it's a work of fiction. Listen, watch the story and just close your eyes when you have to. Yeah. It was actually pretty entertaining. I thought that there was a lot of really great. I mean, there were things that were definitely very wrong with the storytelling. Factually, obviously, I mean, it's drama. It's
there were some liberties taken.
More than a few. Man. and I have to say, like, these 20 years have not been very kind to Mr. Gibson. And, and I think, what was it? Heath Ledger that was, wow. Like,
young Heath Ledger, absolutely. Yeah.
Alive. Sorry.
No, he was a zombie in this movie.
It was one of those things where it was just kind of like, I think that casting was really fantastic. I can never remember the actor who played Tavington. Chris Isaacs, Jason Isaacs. Yes. I love him so much. He's one of those guys we were talking about where you see him in places and you're like, I know him from somewhere.
It's that guy.
Yeah,
It's that guy. He's that guy. And you see Adam Baldwin kind of make a little bit of an appearance here and there. So, I think casting was really fantastic. I think the story was kind of, if you could look past the liberties that were taken and you could kind of, hear the story that was trying to be told, or like, I guess, maybe feel the story that was trying to be told instead of, what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah. You don't go to it for the actual history.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said history.
It's tough. Now I wish one of us had gotten Pearl Harbor, because that would have been just totally appropriate to have the Patriot and Pearl Harbor in the history group and just yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
But I do admit, like, I did really like a lot of what they chose in terms of like the costuming, even though it was a little bit off still in bits and pieces. Like, I think that they held it together pretty consistently across the board, even in terms of the the liberties that they took and the inconsistencies were consistent across the board. Casting was fantastic, and direction I think was really, really fantastic. So all in all, despite it being a really huge boundary pusher for me, I enjoyed it pretty well.
Nice.
Super flawed movie with some amazing set pieces. That's my thought.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, I think, and I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, this was sort of in the heyday of Mel Gibson just churning out epic film after epic film, and I'm talking from a scope. Braveheart, We Were Soldiers, The Patriot. I mean, this was,
Well, and I do remember too. Whenever there, and I intentionally hadn't watched it because I did hear the reputation of, okay, it's got really huge gaping holes of, missing chunks of what should have been history, or like, missing chunks of, misses essentially. And my dad being a really huge history buff and I mean, he was offended, like, deeply. And, you know, and knowing too that it was one of those things where it was like, okay, this is definitely one of those, like, if you got a sensitive stomach, if you're kind of like, if you're not a big fan of like the bloody kind of like semi-graphic war movie type of thing, like, you're not going to be a fan. And so I intentionally hadn't watched it, and this was my reaction. I'm gonna show you how it went, because I always do the roulette on my phone. And so I'm on my phone and I go, okay, here we go. And I push the button and I see it and I went, oh, you're kidding. And I turn, I put my phone face down on my desk, and I just turn, and Cullen's sitting across the desk from me, and he goes, what's wrong? And I was like, I just did my roulette. He goes,
That's perfect.
he said, and your reaction is, oh, you're kidding me. And I said, yep. And he goes, oh, great. What is it? I was like, it's the Patriot. And he's like, oh, that's not bad. I'm like, the topic is history. He's like, oh, you're kidding me.
But
That's awesome.
honestly, if you were telling me, oh, we're gonna do that's the kind of movie like I'm expecting. Like, I'm expecting I'm expecting the Patriot. I'm expecting like you know, all
Lincoln.
the President's Men, or like quiz show, or just something that was based on historical events, you know. So
exactly. And that's why I was like, you know what? It's okay.
Perfect. It's perfect.
This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fine. And I was,
except it's Roland Emmerich trying to do a history movie. That's the downfall of it. Like, the guy who brought us Independence Day is like, here, let me do the American Revolution. I got this.
it was great. It was fun. Yeah, fantastic.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan, for that. Paul, the topic, as we know, is history. And what did the wheel gift you?
Well, I also got a historical movie. It is called The Young Messiah. Yes. So I got to find out about not Jesus's childhood, but just a fictitious childhood of a person that was Jesus, but definitely not his childhood. Because nobody knows. So let's just make some, like, at least with the Patriot, like, the excuse is, hey, you could have actually based this movie on like actual events, maybe.
Could have happened. Could have happened.
No, there are no actual events. Like, there were actual events, but there are no recorded actual events to base this movie off of. But we're gonna do it anyway. And we're just gonna take people that were in one season or less of Game of Thrones and put them in the movie, so that everybody in the Middle East, from Egypt on to Jerusalem, is British, because
that's what you do.
Because that's what you do. That's what you do.
As one does.
Yep, as one does. So 2016, Young Messiah. I mean, like, Sean Bean is the main kind of bad guy in that, he plays a centurion who is tasked by Herod to go find the one that got away after he had cleared out Bethlehem after Jesus was born. And I mean, it's got Sean Bean, it's got Robert Baratheon in it as Jesus's uncle. It's got Walder Person that Jesus encountered. Oh,
I love how you're
using
their Game of Thrones name.
He was a rabbi. Yeah, it was. He was a rabbi. It had two other people that I recognized from much, much smaller roles in Game of Thrones that I don't remember exactly what they also had small parts in this too. But yes, it had lots of people from Game of Thrones, so it was fun. I mean, look, it's it took the subject matter very seriously, and it wasn't like like Scorsese's take on The Last Temptation type of thing. It was very much nice to the source material, and for that I say it's for some people, not for me, and yay.
Right. And there you go.
Speaking of branching out to things we would never watch.
And that's what the wheel does.
Yes.
It
Broadening
sometimes puts
horizons.
I'm telling you, if I had to watch this for history, if one of you guys pick religion for the topic, I'm opting out of that one. I already got
Gotcha.
my religion
Nope.
movie.
That's funny.
Not.
Well, that is why we do our Netflix roulette once a month because, again, to use Susan's term, we need to broaden our horizons regardless of our movie experience.
Absolutely. Sure.
And boy, do we ever. Do we ever. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's this month's edition of Netflix Roulette. We will be back next month with another episode. In the meantime, make sure you go over to realgood.com/roulette and spin the wheel, see what it gives you, and try it out. You might find some movies that you like or that just make you go, what? Are you kidding me? So, all right. That brings us to this week's segments. And we each have one. If you're joining us for the first time, we thank you for being here with us. We like to call this first one, What the Hell Did I Just Watch? Paul, it's all yours.
All right. So speaking of broadening your movie horizons, I tuned into a movie starring Andrew Garfield post Spider-Man. It's a relatively recent release, 2018's Under the Silver Lake. Now, so have you heard of this one, Sergio?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
It was on Amazon. So you can check it out for yourself. Very weird. This is one that I'd heard about a while ago, and I was like, oh, I'm going to file that one away for later to possibly do a what the hell did I just watch on. And it's really weird. The Spider-Man plays a 20-something slacker in Los Angeles, as 20-somethings in Los Angeles tend to be, who falls in love with a beautiful blonde that lives within his apartment complex, who goes missing. And so the movie's about him looking for this blonde that goes missing. And it's really fucking weird. I mean, it's almost Lynchian in its sort of surreal nature and just how it just never grasps onto reality and like a plot. There's a broad overview of things happening and that's about it. And it takes really weird, strange turns that are sometimes really funny and sometimes very strange. All the times really Los Angeles. Here's the thing is, if I hadn't lived in Los Angeles, I would have been like, what the hell is going on with this movie? But having lived in Los Angeles, and not only lived in Los Angeles, but like the area that this movie's about, very close to it.
Yeah.
It's like this movie, I don't understand how this movie got made, because there's no way somebody like responsible for money gets the pitch for this movie and is like, oh yeah, people outside of Eastern Los Angeles but west of I-5 would totally enjoy this movie, because there's no way I enjoy this movie half as much if I don't like, oh, I've been there. I have encountered like 20 people exactly like this. Yes, I know what's going on. Yeah, okay, it's like, and so if you have lived in Los Angeles, and specifically, between northern border being Griffith Park, southern border being downtown, eastern border being the 101, or western border being the 101, eastern border being I-5, you have to watch this movie because it's absolutely fascinating. If you also like movies where rich people bury themselves in bunkers and await being taken up into a greater consciousness, again, definitely watch this movie. Everybody else, it's kind of funny. There are some funny things that happen. You get to see Spider-Man's butt a lot.
Okay, well, I'm in.
Selling point.
Yeah.
Hey.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
It fits the topic.
It really fits in the topic, and I just love that I understood like all of the horrible Los Angeles references because I would have not loved it remotely as much. And one of the people that like recommended it to me, I don't think he's from Los Angeles, and I'm like, I like anyway, whatever, it's fine. So,
and once more, Paul, the title and where can we find it?
Under the Silver Lake on Amazon.
All right. Well, you can find out all the weird, cool stuff that Paul is watching week to week on What the Hell Did I Just Watch? So make sure you come on back. And in the meantime, just watch what he talks about, or he'll tell you if you shouldn't. So
you should. But
you should. There you go.
You know, I will put disclaimers on the type of people it's geared towards.
Yeah. I don't think you've ever done it based on landmarks.
Extremely specific geographic boundaries. Yes.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, as we're doing episode number 70, I love the evolution of how you categorize things. So. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your entry this week. We go now to Susan 4. Susan finally saw. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so this was another kind of a strange one, maybe a little boundary pusher for me. I thought I had already seen this one. And then when I started it, I was like, wow, I have no idea what's going on here. I watched Monster from 2003 with Charlize Theron and Christina Ricci. I thought I had already seen it. But in my mind, I was like, thinking of something completely different movie. And wow, that was trippy and a little bit weird. A lot of it weird.
Yeah,
very weird.
Wow. Yeah. How else do you really describe that other than like weird and
a tough hang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a tough hang.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was like there were some like strange twists and like things, and I was like, I was uncomfortable at a number of points. But actually, like, you know, and I mean, like, I think it won a number of awards, if I remember correctly. I was reading up on it afterwards, and I was just like, I can see why. Like, it was uncomfortable, but I could not stop watching it.
Right.
And I was like watching, and I was like, that does not look, there's no way that's Charlize Theron. There's no way. But wow.
Oscar-winning performance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So wow, like I did a thing, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at me.
Truck stops, man. Never again. Really?
I know. I was like, there's like so many things that I was just like, this is so bad. This is so bad. This is so bad. And at the end of it, I was just kind of like,
the glamour of truck stops are ruined forever.
The glamour? Yeah.
Were they ever really glamorous though? I mean, really?
I don't know.
No.
I've done a lot of work spellings.
Yep, this is pretty much what I would expect from a truck stop.
Yeah. So
that this
just don't get murdered. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't happen more often is really the shocking thing from this movie.
But I think maybe this is like maybe since 2003 it hasn't happened because of the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There was a time in my life when I was heavy into true crime kind of stuff, and I mean the case of this particular case is one of the most notorious, and for the film to be so powerful and garner so many awards really speaks to what a riveting story it is, but also the realness with which it was all put together. So yeah, I have to say again, Susan, I'm impressed you made this selection from your list. That's awesome.
No.
I mean, I told you were going to be surprised.
Very surprised.
Boundary pusher. I love it. I love it. Yep. That's what we do here.
And next week I'm going back to these like silly little fluff ones, like
sure,
13th Warrior. Awesome. It's always going to come up. So. All right, Susan. Well, thank you so much for this edition of Susan Finally Saw. We encourage you to continue to go through that list and grow your Letterboxd account with movies that you've seen. So someday you'll catch up to me and Paul.
Nice. No.
Absolutely.
I'm a
All
week
right.
behind entering movies, and
I'm so behind.
my letterboxed is at 3,189 with
You remember when
124
we
this
created?
year.
Do you remember when we created those accounts and you were
Yes.
like, "Hey, put all the movies in there," and I was like, "Yeah," and I put all those movies in there.
Yeah.
That's the last time I put movies in there.
I've
that far
been keeping up on it. I've been keeping up on it.
That's how far
Wow.
behind I am.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have to say I'm over 2,200, but I'm about a month behind putting stuff in, so I need to catch up.
So Paul had a little bit over, what was it, 3,000
3,000.
something?
3,189 with 124 this year.
And then Sergio, you had a little bit over
2,267. With
I have
not
like 578.
Nice.
Well, and there you go. That's awesome.
That's
number will
really
grow.
good.
I have not
peg it
added
at like 200. So
that's what you get. Okay, I do have to go back and add all the ones that I've watched because I have not added any since we started the podcast.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We'll get an update when I remember to add them all.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
Sometime in the not too distant future. As I like to say, that's a future Susan problem.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I will update you as I become updated.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's nice to know that between all of us, we've seen over 5,000, almost 6,000 movies. So that's good experience if I can say so myself. This week, well, that's true, but whatever. This week I have an entry called Real Time Rewind. In the Real Time Rewind segment, week to week, I like to share with you movies that are out there that maybe you haven't seen or maybe you've forgotten are out there. I was inspired by the history topic that we had to do this week for the roulette, and I went back to a period of history that for me is sort of it's a horrible moment in time, but one that I'm fascinated by, and only became fascinated by it because of the industry I entered into in 2013, which is the work I do now, which is the industry of banking. And so the 2008 housing market collapse and everything around it, that history, once I learned about it and sort of dove into it, really fascinates me. And there was a series of movies that were made around that topic. HBO released a movie called Too Big to Fail. There was the movie The Big Short, which is a great look at that entire span of time. But the movie I want to share on Real Time Rewind might be one that many folks haven't heard of. It is the movie Margin Call. Margin Call is a look at the housing market collapse from the perspective of one particular unnamed investment company, and the way in which they discover the horrific things that are about to happen that they as a company have caused. And the cast, I can already tell, Paul, you're looking it up. Do me a favor if you are, and just shout out some of the cast members that you see there.
Zachary Quinto, Stanley Tucci, Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons. Nice. Yeah. Let's see here. We got Mary McDonald. We've got Demi Moore.
It is a cast.
Yeah, that is a cast and a half.
Yeah.
Holy crow.
And Susan, you'll love it because it is talky as fuck. And so you should check it out.
Okay. Nope. I'm out.
But no.
I was like, I know these names though.
Yeah, no, and it really is a riveting piece of writing. The movie is, again, if you know the time frame, you know the happenings, even if you're just sort of a peripheral knowledge person when it comes to what went on, it really is a great piece of work and one that I have loved to go back to. And as I was thinking, I was actually going to talk about The Big Short, but Margin Call is one of those that I go back to often because I love the dialogue exchange between all of the different characters and the way in which you come out of that movie thinking no one cared about the millions of people that were going to lose jobs and homes and pensions, and it just, it was straight from the banking perspective, and from the perspective having done more reading, it was based on the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which was one of the banks that was allowed to fail by the government, and rightfully so when you know all that they did to cost people their lives in terms of their finances and so forth. So Margin Call is a piece of work I would love to remind you is out there. If you haven't seen it, if you have, then let me know what you think. I'd be curious to know. In fact, you should talk to all of us and let us know what you thought about tonight's segments, movies that were suggested and talked about. You can do so by finding us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for Reel to Reel Talk, so make sure you check it out, comment, figure out what we have been talking about in the past episodes. And now as we go live week to week, as we are back, we're excited to have you join us on the journey. You can also find us on Instagram, where you can look at past posters of shows that we've done, so you can check them out here on YouTube as well. So also come by YouTube to not only watch us live, but also check out past episodes. Make sure you click that subscribe button so that you know when our episodes land. You can also click that little notification bell there to the right, and then leave us comments below. We also like likes, so give us a thumbs up on these episodes if you enjoy them, and keep up with us week to week as we start the march towards 75 episodes, team. I can't believe it. Next is 100, so I'm excited. Okay, and so are we all. So, all right, so it is time for our real
I didn't.
We're going to just jump right to real quick reviews.
Yeah, dive in. That's what I was waiting for.
And my mic was muted that whole time because I was coughing. Fantastic.
All right. So this week on Real Quick Reviews, we're going to take a look at a film by Guy Ritchie, who happens to be, I don't know about a favorite for all of us, but some of us. Yeah. The movie Wrath of Man is Guy Ritchie's latest installment in his filmography. Yep. And I will just start by saying this. When Guy Ritchie hits a home run, he hits a home run. When he doesn't, you get Wrath of Man. So...
You didn't like it at all?
Well, you see, here's the problem for me. It's partly my fault, partly his fault. Partly my fault because of how much I absolutely love The Gentleman.
Right.
And so it's you go for the follow-up, right? Mm-hmm. And the trailer is very plain that this is not going to be like anything else that Guy Ritchie has done.
Right.
But there are just some story elements in this film that just were like, what are we doing here? Whose story is this? What's happening? And it was just, I don't think he really knew what he wanted the focus of the film to be. And so there were some struggles I had with it, and there were just, I guess I expected more.
Okay. That's interesting because I feel like he knew exactly where the focus was, but he didn't want the audience to know at any moment where the focus was.
So I'm glad you said that, because I thought if that's what he's doing, he's made it too obvious. Okay. But that's just me.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you knew all along that there was. Here's all right. I liked it. It's so different than anything. Like anybody's problem with this movie is instantly. I went in expecting a Guy Ritchie movie, and this is just not like
it's not
one that you would file under. Oh yeah, that was a Guy Ritchie movie. Like The Gentleman was just like it could have been made months after Snatch came out. It fits in with that whole cadence perfectly. The Sherlock Holmes movies fit in with that cadence perfectly. This movie just doesn't fit in with his filmography, what you would expect, and
that's why I say it might be partly my fault.
Okay, sure, possibly. I don't know. Okay, I had problems with it. I'm not here to say I loved it because I didn't love it. There were a lot of things that felt like you can't just leave the backstory out there, what's his face, Garcia's character. It's like I don't understand what he was there for at all, and what he was doing and who he was and what his relationship was with anybody else in the movie.
I can tell you straight up.
What's that?
He was the green light giver for so much that happened that we would have been like, what?
Well, but that's the problem. So that was
yeah.
my problem with that character was, but under what authority,
Right, exactly. I'm not saying it worked.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that is my problem with the movie. But so much of it I found absolutely fascinating and really interesting. And as a lover of heist movies, because this is absolutely 100% a heist movie. As a lover of heist movies, I loved getting the chance to go back and see the reconstruction of a heist, and it was like I loved that. I just ate that shit up, nom nom nom, and it was so good. And then to see another heist come up, like to get two heists in the same movie, it just was like really cool heists in the same movie. And it's I don't know, there was a lot that I liked.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree that there was some good stuff. I just felt that as a story that was being told, it went back and forth so much that I was like, where's our focus supposed to be and how is this really progressing? I will say this. Jason Statham can be accused of playing the same character over and over and over and over and over. But having said that, he is great in this movie.
Yeah.
He's one of the shiny moments in this film from a cast standpoint, because he's doing what you expect that he'll be doing, but he's always responded well to Guy Ritchie's direction in terms of the films he's been in.
Right.
And there's a gravitas that he brings that finally, for me, I'm like, I'm watching him in a role I'm familiar with, but with purpose.
Right.
And so there's a whole nother level of acting that he's doing here that really worked for me.
Yeah. And it's interesting because to see Guy Ritchie working with Statham again, it was exciting. Like I was totally excited about it. And he just, in the first two movies that they're together, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. I mean, he just plays very similar characters in those two and totally different than what he is in this one. And honestly, very different than what he usually plays in most of the movies he plays in now. Like he is so charming in those movies, and so whereas he is just like I'm you don't know what I am. And that's just the way it's going to be, and you have to decide based on what little information you get about me whether you like me or not.
All in all, Guy Ritchie does what he does. He gives us compelling characters. He gives us fun exchanges. He gives us great action.
Right.
And so as we take a look at Wrath of Man, those of you who are joining us, that we have a 5 taco scale on which we measure all movies. The most a movie can get is 5 tacos plus a bit of guac if you want to add a little more punch here and there. So on our Reel to Reel Talk taco scale, Paul, what is your rating for Wrath of Man?
I'm giving it 3 tacos with guac because the heists were fantastic. They did a really good job with the heists. But yeah, I would recommend this. It's not fun. This is not a fun movie, but hey, you get to see a couple heists. So
it's definitely entertaining. I am going to land on a solid 2 tacos plus guac, but really good tacos. Okay. I did expect more from Guy Ritchie in terms of the material, and the structure of the film sort of, for me, was a bit flawed. But I will say this. I do want to see it again.
Okay.
Just because, again, I have to sort of shed my own perspective of what I expect every time out, because you're right. It is a completely different outing from Guy Ritchie this time around. So, Susan, I would put this on your list because it is a fun heist, not fun, but a heist movie. And I think you shared, Susan, you like heist movies. Is that correct?
I think they're okay.
I'm
just kidding. Yes, I like heist movies.
All righty.
But you also just said it was not fun, so I'm like,
I'll tell you what we tell. I'll tell you what we tell all of our viewers. Listen to how we feel about things, but don't let that decide for you.
It's not fun in the sense that Ocean's 11 is a fun heist movie.
Right.
Okay. It's a heist movie along the lines of Heat, which is not a fun movie, but is a very good movie.
Good movie. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a good movie.
Yeah, this does not live up to Heat in any way, shape, or form.
I was gonna
I don't
say,
want
but
anyone to think
you wouldn't
Don't-
give Heat 2 tacos and
I
make
gave
some
it 3,
guac.
but no. I am simply saying it is in the genre of heist movies. It falls under that category rather than the Ocean's 11. Hey, aren't we cool, Enrico Suave? And this is much more like nitty gritty, dirty.
Yeah.
All right.
That is this week's Real Quick Reviews. Keep an eye on us because not only will we do Real Quick Reviews week to week, but we may also jump on here and there unexpectedly live to talk about films that are coming up. Netflix released 2 films this past week. Just want to throw them out there. One is called Monster. Different film. Different film, but whoa. Yeah, exactly.
Oofa.
Powerful film. And the other I have on my notes, and I need to pull them out. It is called Milestone. It is a Hindi film, foreign language, on Netflix that was released last week as well, and very powerful movie. So I'm going to throw those out there. With that in mind, Paul, Susan, since it's been a while since we've been on, are there any movies you'd like to share that you've seen that you might want to throw out for folks to try out?
Yeah, there was a new release a couple weeks ago for anybody with some little ones in there. The Mitchells and the Machines was an animated film. It was, my kids loved it. It was pretty good. I thought it was cute. Give it a try.
I will second Monster because it was so good. The ending is just kicks you again, and it's whoo. And then and I will also second Mitchell's versus the Machines, even though the plot is maddeningly horrible, but there are so many awesome, hilarious things that happen throughout that it makes it totally worth watching. Just like oh my god, the plot makes me want to like throw my computer sometimes. Like just like can't we? You could like make a kids movie with a decent plot. It doesn't have to be this, but it's so super funny and actually has really good representation. What the lead character is is a gay young female. It's fantastic. It's really cool. But yeah,
I'll have to watch it before y'all make me watch it. So.
We're not doing that anymore. I thought.
Oh, that's right.
Aren't we off of that?
Yes, we are. We're coming up with new segments
yes.
or new topics. Paul, what about you? Any films you want to throw out there?
I mean, I've watched so many movies. Like every night, I watch like 2 movies a night. It's like it's ridiculous. So
that makes sense. I do want to say hello to a few folks that have been commenting. Diana Rodriguez suggests a movie called Miracle in Cell Number 7. She says, "Grab your tissues."
Okay,
and I've heard that recommended before. Yeah, same thing. This
is the 3rd time that movie has come up in 2 days. So I'm thinking maybe I need to check it out. And they've all said the same thing: you will cry. Also want to give props to our friend Nick Kramer, who earlier in the conversation about the Patriots said to the whole notion of things being factual, he included how Gibson's character should have gotten literally, in all caps, all the diseases when he murderized that first guy with his hatchet. So.
Yeah. Yes. What did you die from? Yes.
Everything.
So, all right. Well, guys, this has been a whole lot of fun.
Sure.
Week to week, whether it's on either Sunday morning or Tuesday evenings, we will be back for another rendition of Reel to Reel Talk. Susan, Paul, thank you as always for all that you bring.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out, kids.
Indeed. If you are watching us, don't forget, find us on Facebook so you can figure out what we're watching and what we're talking about. And so you can also see us here on Facebook on our Reel to Reel Talk page, also on Instagram. Check out past episodes and what we watched in the past, as well as YouTube. Don't forget, click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and also the notification bell so you know when our episodes land. But having said all of that, thank you on behalf of Paul and Susan. And don't forget, like we always say, you are awesome, you're amazing,
yes,
and the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next time on Real to Real Talk.